Hi, today is May 16th, 2020. It's the anniversary of the day in 1846 when the last will and testament of John Sutton was submitted for probate in Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida. John Sutton, a white farmer, was my fourth great-grandfather. His will set free my fourth great-grandmother, whom he described in the will as his mulatto slave Lucy, aged about 45, as well as their 8 children and 6 grandchildren. The probate of his will was the first step in those papers becoming our family's freedom papers, and the family making their way all the way from Jacksonville onto boats to New Orleans, then up the Mississippi to Illinois where they claimed their freedom at Christmas of 1846. But that freedom was fragile, as John's brother Shadrach, who'd always threatened to beat them if he ever came to own them, challenged the will in court, and the family's freedom hung in the balance. Now, uncovering the story of my family's history, which only happened after I'd been working as a trust and estates lawyer for over 2 decades, has led me on a journey to discover my life's mission, to tell stories that bend the arc of history towards justice. I began this journey in 2014 and have had the great fortune to be invited to share the story of my ancestors all across the country. I like to say I've been able to tell it from New York to New Mexico, from Madison to Monterey, from the eastern shore of Maryland to the north shore of Waikiki and back to Florida where it all began. I was looking forward to sharing it in Chicago this spring until COVID-19, the global pandemic, changed the world almost overnight. The pandemic has put into even sharper focus the lesson that I have been learning from my experience of connecting to my ancestors' story while sharing it across the country. You see, I used to think that history was what happened to kings and queens or princes and pontiffs, or to ordinary people who did extraordinary things, like Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Barack Obama. What I have come to understand is that we are all living in history. It shapes us and changes us. But we have the ability to shape and change history too. So even as I recognize that I stand on this arc of history with my ancestors, John and Lucy, who did something to make sure that life would be better for their descendants, and at the other end of that arc are my descendants yet unborn looking back to me to see what I did to make the future better. And for me, in these perilous times, it gives me a point of focus to know that I have a place in history and that by sharing my story, I am helping to bend that arc a little bit every day. Staying home for the sake of your health and the health of your community is a little way each of us can help to bend that arc while we flatten the curve. Thank you.